Hey, you want to talk about it? Go for it.
We got to turn off some lights.
Huh?
We got to turn off the lights. This is the 1 minute mesoscale Vista Wednesday. And Kelton can talk about it too, because we were talking about this earlier. I just think it's gorgeous.
It is.
That's really all I've got to say about it. Let it run a couple times. Yeah, you said there were tornadoes.
I think one of them got rated at 3.
This was a little too late for my class that day because I
Yeah.
saw this stuff that was kind of like the scroungy stuff on the Red River in southern Oklahoma, and it was before all this developed later in the day. I would have loved to have seen this in class, but it was right that stuff down there.
What was the focus of that? Why did it develop?
There was an outflow boundary from a previous
I
storm.
can see one thing going southward. Is that
Yeah, so there's the outflow boundary dry line intersect, or dry line or stationary front, I can't remember, but the outflow boundary is what kind of served as the focus for the tornado threat, but there was a broader synoptic boundary that served as the initiation of the storms further west.
okay? That's boundary. Okay.
Yeah, so
Dry lines
stuff
on the western.
stuff further to south and west didn't feel that outflow boundary.
There was a tornado in Wichita Falls, but it was weaker and shorter lived than the one in southern Oklahoma.
That was cool, and then this I was shown earlier also on the full resolution, the full disk imagery from today. There's a pretty awesome mirrored cyclone. There's a pretty strong cyclone in the northern Atlantic, and at the same time, there's sort of a mirrored big cyclone going
cool.
down in the South Atlantic. So, if one were looking at our planet from far away like GOES is, it's kind of a neat view.
Yeah, so same longitude almost.
Yeah, that's pretty bizarre. I'm planning over the summer to try to set up sort of a tropical view from this imagery, but closer in, that would cover sort of this area. To kind of monitor tropical
Why not
cyclones.
go all the way into the Pacific and use both satellites?
I'll have to find something that merges them both. They're on different projections, and reprojecting in the software that I'm using is just ridiculously slow. I've tried doing some of that, reprojecting some of the imagery around here, and it's just, I got to find a better solution for that.
Yeah, so you're thinking, Pete, of getting the Atlantic Basin in one and the Pacific in another?
Could do them in 2 separate ones, we could do them together. I think there's a data set that's being produced by Unidata that merges the east and the west data onto a common projection. That might be something that we could use to do this, but I haven't really investigated that at all.
Because, if you do it all, like the whole globe is pretty, and it'd be good to retain this, but the problem with it is you get oblique views of stuff on the edges. And so sometimes that's the most exciting stuff. You'll see a dust plume or, an easterly wave here, and it's kind of got a weird angle.
Right.
Unless it's kind of repackaged. But this is really pretty and beautiful.
So
Well, let's
anyways,
take a look at the current continental U.S.
color, black and white.
Not black and white, more like probably what I've seen already.
Next fall, we'll have the black and white water vapor for the West Coast too, because I know you prefer that.
Oh, yeah, I do. I like that better. You can see some of those little swirly things
Yeah.
sometimes. Okay, so here's that's a really nice storm, isn't it? That one that you highlighted. And it's part of a complex of storms in the North Atlantic. This one here is just to the southeast of Greenland, is probably the center of another disturbance. It almost looks like there's some convective.
Low type of thing.
Yeah, one of these might be, and I don't know about that. That seems kind of low to be a polar low, but it does have a really nice concentric look to it. So interesting. Okay. But across the continental United States, the weather is not so well organized today. But it's a lot of clouds and a lot of precipitation. We'll see that on the radar, at least in the eastern 2/3. And then the western third of the country is really a pretty nice day all around. You can see the snow-peaked Rockies in both Wyoming and Colorado, even parts of Montana. Same with the Sierra Nevada, really nice. And we'll see in the West Coast, again, this beautiful little storm has been sitting there at least since Wednesday. It's been absolutely sitting still. We were talking about in class today about how can it spin down. Somebody actually said friction. So that was really good. But it's taken a while. So that was pretty neat. Okay, so let's, before we go, a couple of swirlies up in Canada, and we're going to see when we look at 500 millbar map, there's a strong upper trough with a really intense upper front over the northwest part of the country, and several little disturbances are likely to come out of that. It's not so well resolved in the data, except you can tell there's a really strong tropopause fold in that location.
Right. I also want to point out that the area of cloudiness over Florida and just to its east of Jacksonville and south of Charleston, that's an area of disturbed weather the Hurricane Center for the last couple of days has been looking at. They only give it a 10% chance of development. It's a tropical cyclone, but When we look at the surface maps, you'll see a pretty well-defined broad circulation.
It's a nice spot for cyclogenesis of all types. The concavity of the
Okay,
coastline is really nice there. I didn't know that it had an influence on clusters of convection proto-tropical cyclones, but maybe it does. That's interesting. And of course, Postel used to always tell me, you get to 30 degrees at Jacksonville, forget it. And you never get anything developing. But maybe that's not right anymore. We have an altered world, so I don't know. Let's take a look at the radar first to get a look at what's going on across the
I
country.
do have a week-long loop of the West IR if you're interested in looking at that cyclone.
I just haven't, I wouldn't have anything to say about it.
Other than the fact that you said that cyclone was sitting there for like 3 days, that would be pretty.
Yeah, you'd see that.
Yes.
So let's slide over to the eastern part of the U.S. And so you can see, this is really interesting, right along the coast of Georgia, some really nice individual, fairly heavy showers right along the coast, and then extending up into South Carolina. And I wonder if that's connected or somewhat separate from what's the cluster out here that's interesting to the hurricane center. But there's a lot of speckled convection in this location. There's not really any organization evident to it in the radar. And then precipitation racing across central and southern New England. As soon as Nick left Albany, the weather got nice, it looks like. So,
Right.
yes. And he brought his nice weather with him.
Thank you very
We were
much.
talking about it yesterday, what a miserable day it was. And then a little bit of precipitation through about the long axis of Ohio. You don't often refer to that, but today you should. And that's what's happening today, and it's up into the Rochester, Buffalo area. And a little bit more convective across the boundary between West Virginia and Kentucky, in the eastern part of Kentucky. And then look at this conglomeration of little individual, really high reflectivity cells. So what's the factor there? Is that just hail maybe in some of these individual updrafts, or big raindrops, or?
I would say it's just, it looks like warm air convection to me with the head of the MCS.
But this is really interesting that there's so many small scale features in it. The cloud scale has a core updraft. How does that happen?
Just the heavy rain.
Okay, so it's rain, not, you don't think there's ice?
I don't know if you could tell from the composite.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess what I'm saying is
Okay.
that if it is that small, I doubt they're high enough to have hail, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly what maybe what prompts the question, but not articulated as well. It just looks weird. It looks like acne instead of, individual cells. So that's an odd look to it from my limited experience there. And then some heavy convection down over eastern Texas as well. Kind of the stratiform part of it's kind of fading away, as you can see in the radar reflectivity. And then the western United States, just about nothing happening precipitation-wise anywhere to the west of central part of the Dakotas, both north and south. So that's a pretty nice day across much of the western third of the country. That's nice. Pete, why don't we look at that West Coast movie, if you've got a long one ready?
Yeah.
Because I believe, in fact, let's hold off just for a second, get it ready to go maybe, but let's look at the Super Pete 500 millibar. Because you see the actual disturbance itself. And this I know was there at least as early as Wednesday. It's kind of this really interesting almost Rex block structure. And this thing has been sitting still. It's cold at upper levels, so it's a cold core, equivalent barotropic structure and all that. And we'll see it in the satellite in just a minute. It is a broad scale flow across North America. It's really one broad upper trough, spans the entire continent. This one here is really interesting right near Great Slave Lake. It's minus 43 at 500 millibars. And then it's minus 25 when you get further over to the south and west. And so that's a really strong upper front. The question is, does this tropopause vortex structure have any ability to spawn a surface cyclone? And will that surface cyclone have any impact on weather in the western Great Lakes regions? That's kind of a weekend question, I suppose. And we'll take a look then at the southern prairie provinces when we look at the forecast for any potential developments. And before we go to the satellite, can we go to the 500 millibar vorticity analysis at 12Z from GFS? Yeah, so that's pretty intense upper vorticity. We're in the 4 times F region, just to the east of the Rockies in Alberta. And it's not so well organized. I meant to do this today, but I just didn't have time. Cross section through that would be really nice.
We can do that for tropical.
Oh, tropical tidbits. Let's do that. Let's just see what the upper frontal structure looks like there. One of the more intense upper vortex structures we've seen in quite some time in the transition season.
Let's let the region go slide down a little bit.
So what change of Canada region?
America.
Yeah, we can do that. And then 500 milliwatt electricity will give us a pretty good idea where we want to draw the cross section.
Or look, do the choke point map, it'll show the front too.
I can give
Of
it.
course, this is the second. here.
Oh, right there.
Sorry.
Let's see, why don't we have that? All right, let's try and go right there.
Oh, it's not gonna give you the plus sign?
I'll try it, but I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I'll get to the
I
cross.
think it will be the plus sign if you can get the cross section on that.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so
Oh, you can't do it?
apparently not on that particular view.
Check Conus, if we go back to Conus, we'll get one side of it, but that's the edge.
You might be able to take the cross section out. Add it in.
What?
Yeah, take a random cross section and then edit the lat long points.
Maybe
Go to lat long points.
At least start with the lat long point you want.
Oh, yeah, okay, so you want to be going like that. So let's start in the Aryan homeland. and move
Oh,
up.
I see what you're saying, and just add,
Yeah.
make up a number.
You can do that.
Oh,
You have to hold down the
Wait,
control or
wait,
something.
Yeah, I know. Control?
I think, or one of those. So let's estimate what we think it should go to.
You take the difference between those two endpoints.
Yeah, I think a linear
And then
thing.
pick this one.
So the difference is about 10, so we're gonna go to 64. No,
It's almost north-south. It's not quite, but it's almost north-south. So if we go to like minus 105 and 64, let's just try that.
105, yeah.
Those work.
Let's see.
Submit.
And we pull it.
We win.
But this, so you're gonna change it from front of
That's
Genesis,
the-
yeah, change that, the type at the bottom. Let's try that first. Submit.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice cross-section. Thank you, Pete and Nick and everybody who
Sorry for the
inspired.
clue on
It's always
changing this.
exhibiting elements of a criminal mind.
Sorry.
Yeah. Very intense horizontal shear. The vertical shear is weaker, so you can see that reflected in the temperature gradient. It's not particularly strong. These are every 5 degrees, but nonetheless, it's mostly horizontal shear in this thing. But an 80 meter per second wind speed max around 350 millivolts. It's clearly a polar jet structure, and it's got a really nice tropopause undulation. Goes down to about 625 or so millibars. So that's pretty intense for 3rd of May. You can't be expecting something stronger than that. So that's pretty intense. But I suspect because it doesn't have much variability to it and it's mostly horizontal shear, it's not really going to be a particularly potent force. So we'll see that in the forecast. I guess, when we move forward.
Although, when you look at the Super Peak 500, it looked like there was significant variability.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
more
true.
modest.
That's true. It was on the order of 15-ish degrees, I think. So this is minus 43, that's minus 25, so that's like 18 degrees, and most of it's in 2/3 of that distance. Yeah, so I don't know if the cross
It's
section.
actually kind of going along.
Oh, you
with it.
we're not,
Oh, yeah, okay, so let's try and pick out some coordinates.
I don't have anything written on that line.
That's really what we want to do. Well, maybe we just can't do it. It's too hot to do it. But that's definitely not the right place. A is too far to the east, so we want A to be way over here at the same latitude. So let's just try that. Let's make it 138, minus 138. And then just see what we get. That's a little better, but it's still kind of weird. We can't really, we got 110 not yet, but we're just going to be searching around trying to find it. But this is definitely more of an upper frontal structure. These are every 5 degrees too, so that's a pretty intense 500 millibar temperature contract. So that looks like a pretty decent upper front in this particular case. And fronts on both sides, but this one's stronger on the western side. Okay, I don't know what else to say about that. I was hoping we might see it come back in the forecast as a feature of interest. I don't have much to say because I'm not really
do you want
expert
to go to
about
that
this.
satellite image?
So yeah, we want to see that. Just let's look at that satellite image and then turn it over to somebody who wants to talk about family. So this goes
This
from.
was last Friday, so it's got the whole weekend.
So we're going to be watching right here. This is the upper disturbance. And it's been sitting there longer than I thought. So look at that. That's 27th was what day? Was that Monday? No, that was Saturday, right?
We're getting snow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's been a long lasting, at least there's been a circulation in that vicinity for a long time. Might not be the same one, but I think it is. That one was on shore, so it must be there.
What area?
This is 29.
29, 30, 30.
So that was Monday, right? Or Tuesday? Oh, here it is. This is it.
Yeah.
That's the cutoff. And dates from high latitude. Okay, so that's a polar feature, and that's not surprising. It's cold right in the middle. And here we are on Wednesday. Yeah, and it's starting to really spin around in one spot. Okay, so that's the feature of that's still there now. But look at that in the lower clouds. You see this really nice looking frontal structure, both the cold and the warm front. Look quite nice. So that thing is just an example. You know, Dave Schultz is working on a paper right now on cutoffs. He was asking me some questions about it some weeks ago. And I said to him, I said, I get this naive idea that the circulation in the wintertime just gets weakened by drips and drabs. Little things cut off. That's where the cutoffs come from. That's why they're in the spring. And they're the way for the hemisphere to get rid of excess circulation.
So in other words, you're taking bits of vorticity
Yeah,
off.
orbiting them
and
at
they
low
just
latitude, they spin
down.
away. Right, and the same thing happens with the cold air. You see at 850 millibars, when the broad cold air, the cold pool breaks up, it breaks up into little disturbances on the southern end, and they fritter away.
This would be kind of a fun project for someone maybe next year is to take, do you have the tools to pick out, to identify these
Yeah.
cutoffs, right?
Yeah.
So calculate the circulation around, at sometime before the cutoffs begin forming, and see if you could do a circulation budget.
Oh, yeah,
And
it's kind of
see,
interesting.
look at the ones that get removed from the jet and never reconnect
Yeah,
and spin down, and just see, can you see the
do
the
they,
overall
does it
circulation?
add up? Does it actually reduce the
Does it-
circulation
right.
of a certain polar vortex? Yeah, you could.
It'd be kind of a messy calculation, but it's probably doable.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, because I think that's what happens in a simple conceptual sense. I think that's the answer. Okay, do you have something, anybody want to talk about the hurricane? Because I don't know much about it, I won't say anything you tell
I
me.
can't say a lot about the track, but if we go back to tropical tidbits, go over to the Indian Ocean. There's I think it was 100 knot hurricane or cyclone that made landfall in eastern India earlier this morning,
Yeah,
yesterday morning. It's got 4 actually, so it's more than 100 knots.
It's not now, it's category 1 now, or?
Right. Yeah, so it's on the way down, but I guess some of the issues that folks are talking about, one is the total accumulated precipitation that's expected from this particular event over sort of northeastern India, and as you get into the Bhutan areas, that, but also as it begins to interact with the Himalayas, I'm not sure for different pronunciations, the people that are climbing might be impacted in terms of just their having to change their plans. And I guess several days ago, they were already beginning to think about what had to be done in terms of getting to safe locations. But if we look at the track of this cyclone as it moves northward and northeastward, in this, you see, look at the extreme amounts of precipitation. These are scale right here. These are inches, and this is a rate. These are millimeters. These are inches.
Yeah, probably inches.
Millimeters per hour is what they've got.
Okay.
Right.
Right. But we can just step forward. I mean, just look at this. I can't
It's
see a lot
exactly
about
inches per day.
this. So as this moves northward, again, really heavy amounts of precipitation. And you can see as it's sort of getting close to the end of the minus 6 beginning to cyclone obviously weakens, but lots of precipitation. I think there was estimates just prior to landfall of this storm Fanny is its name, of looking at over a meter of rain, expected 40 inches or so, expected with this particular cyclone.
No place for it to go.
Right. So a couple things that would be of interest that I have not looked at, but would be as this heads toward higher latitudes begins to dissipate, what is its impact on the predictability of the flow downstream over Eastern Asia, Eastern Asia, the Western Pacific, and ultimately downstream over us? We see some sort of fracture in the forecast with significant change due to these remnants.
forming a very strong subtropical jet, which is going east-west. It's not moving up toward the north, but.
More east-west. So let's actually let's go to a different level. Let's first look at the, if we go to upper dynamics. We'll look at they don't have, of course, the dynamic tropopause, but if we have a, let me know of our wind. So, and we can go back a little bit to see how this jet manifests. If we go back earlier.
Oh, yeah, look at that. That's a nice example of that.
Well, already a pre-existing jet, but look at the outflow.
Yeah.
Probably the outflow recurving back on itself, this region. And as we step forward, you can just sort of see the jet, you're arching a little bit.
It intensifying.
It's intensifying as well. Look
The
at that.
scale staying the same. Yeah, it is. And then what about the 355 Kelvin? That'd be interesting to look
Yeah,
at.
so we should expect to see very low potential vorticity.
Yeah.
And all at the top. So this is showing the lower tropospheric PV in purple, and then the shading is the potential vorticity. And you can see the gradient. It'd be nice to get here's the scale here. Anything that's sort of less than 0 is in the
Darker blue.
yeah, look at that. The scale looks kind of weird, but
Yeah, something's wrong there.
what's wrong there with the dark? So broadly, this is very low potential vorticity. Once you get into the lighter colors that are becoming slightly almost white, you're getting close to 1 potential vorticity. And so that's consistent with that dynamic tropopause, it's a strong PV gradient around between 1 and 3 PVUs in the upper troposphere for where the dynamic tropopause would be located. Anyway.
Can you step forward a little bit, Pete? This feature over Pakistan is the stronger upper tropospheric PV feature, and it seems like it's getting phased perfectly with the plume of low PV from the hurricane, and that is coincident with the jet getting really intense across Mongolia or Nepal and Tibet.
929, and that's also fairly intense.
It doesn't stand out. It doesn't really look like the most obvious thing.
Right now, that's right. So this is a significant tropical cyclone impacting the eastern India, and you're probably going to hear a lot about some of the damage that was associated with it. And we didn't talk about this last week, but we also had the second major hurricane or cyclone affecting Mozambique in the northern part of Mozambique. I guess it was the first time in the satellite era, maybe in historical record, of a storm of that intensity affecting that part of the world. You just don't get those types of cyclones.
This is the most intense here in 20 years.
Thought I read that the sea surface temperatures just south of there were in the 90s Fahrenheit.
South of
South
here,
yeah, where the cyclone tracked through,
Let's actually go to the sim
which is
page.
kind of unusual.
90 degrees.
Yeah.
Completely tangential, but something I saw that I thought was cool is that apparently in the advisories for that storm, it was 7% of the world's population being impacted.
Oh, yeah, it is a big population. Yeah,
That's
that's right.
530
1
million
in
or something like
14
that.
people.
On the,
Is that Bangladesh in there?
Yeah, yeah, it's right at the north. It's that country right there, yeah. Your sea level country, mouth of the Ganges.
we do SSTs in the ocean, I know. for-
So that's 86 is 30. But 87, I guess, is this region darker. Wow.
It's close. That's a whole huge part of the globe. It's
Yeah.
87 degrees sea surface temperature.
Wow.
Wow.
And again, this doesn't,
All I can say.
the scale stops there.
It's great, yeah, greater than 31, yeah. Jeez, unbelievable.
But I guess, I mean, with a big, some issues here, you're talking about the rainfall in the Himalayas and then the rain running down rivers back toward the Indian Ocean, or northern Indian Ocean, the Bengal. But the other issue is also with this, a track like this and strong southerly flow east of the cyclone.
Oh, yeah.
There's probably going to be significant flooding, maybe some element of storm surge.
Yeah, and it goes right up Bangladesh and then comes right back down and rakes it when it goes away. So that's why hundreds of thousands of people disappear in some of these storms.
Unfortunately, the track was at some level a little bit further to the west as opposed to
That's true.
through this region.
They expect most of Bangladesh to be gone by the end of the century.
Because
Sea
of
Oh, because the sea level rise, it's so low, yeah. Jeez.
This might be a stupid question, but why are the temperatures colder the shallower the water gets closer to land?
I wonder if there's upwelling because of offshore flow. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Right, or the longshore flow is going to then move the northern hemisphere, right? So it's going to be this, away from.
Okay, but that would suggest too that the thermocline is not very deep,
Right.
right? And I guess I don't know. Is that
Yeah,
true?
I think I read that it weakened slightly before it made landfall, so that could be also attributed.
Oh, just the week.
No, the fact that it's already cool there.
It was already cool there.
But the interesting question from Kelton is that, well, if it's shallow, you kind of think that solar radiation could penetrate
Yeah,
fairly deeply and then just warm it up. So,
Except it's diffuse radiation. That's good for plants that we learned this week, but maybe it's not good for heating the water up.
I guess
Because it's so
my-
hazy.
My thought process being it's shallow and been baking for a longer period of time that it would,
Yeah.
at least conceptually, I don't know a whole lot about tropical meteorology, but conceptually I would imagine, I'm not used to seeing something that's colder as you get showers.
unless they've had, I mean, I don't know, I don't follow the weather in this part of the world, but maybe they've had, this is a relatively high enough latitude, I guess, that any weather systems in the latitudes going by, we're still just entering early spring.
Yeah.
Maybe that gets cooler over the
Yeah.
fall and winter.
And the
Oh,
thermocline
yes,
depth
the tropics, this is so tropical here.
Right.
And I think at this time of year, India is very warm.
But how deep is the thermocline in the northern Indian Ocean? I don't know. If it's shallow, then this could be just one or two events that came by and upwelled it from
But
partial
I would
flow.
think the winds are probably from the southwest there, right? From West southwest, and that would be upwelling.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get the net flow and net mass transport to the southeast.
Of course, at that low of a latitude, I don't know how much, there's not much Coriolis.
Well, it's just starting to have some effect at 20 degrees north. You can even use the QG equation to 20 north with some trepidation, but not 100% trepidation.
And these, this might be elevation, but these temperatures here are, it's also time of day, 21, so it's 68 or
Yeah.
68 or 69 or 69, so. Super warm. Man. So, anyway, so that's out over the Pacific. If you go to, we'll keep this tab up, but I'm surprised I don't have the invest here, but maybe it's just a low probability. Go to NHC for a moment, please, Pete. See what, just a very brief statement they have about this disturbance here. And the surface strong water low pressure over northeastern Florida. Disorganized showers and thunderstorms into the fall western Atlantic. It's not just for a significant development, and it's an emergent frontal system leading to some heavy rain over parts of Florida Peninsula. So very low chance of development, but the fact that they even began to talk about this, I think it was 30 or 40% chance a couple days ago in the 5-day out. So the formation chance in 5 days, but it's come down significantly. So things are beginning to, I guess, cook or get their interest pretty early this year, or relatively early this year. It's a month before we start. Okay, let's go to current forecast map. We'll go to pivotal. Actually, I think I'd ask one quick favor, because I like looking at long-term forecasts, or at least seeing them verified. If you go to Twitter, and I look at Greg Carpin. What's going on? Unfortunately.
I can pull up his username real quick. Just one second.
Yeah, interesting post yesterday about.
Gene Carbon.
Yeah. So.
Ian, sorry.
Scroll a couple. Yeah, this was a forecast that was issued 5 days ago, valid yesterday on the 2nd. And this is the, again, from the Weather Prediction Center forecast and the observed. And again, that's just pretty remarkably good.
Yeah.
Everywhere from this, even this little finger of precipitation extending into northwestern Kansas.
That is remarkable.
You can see the influence of that outflow boundary from the satellite image earlier as well.
Okay, is this in terms of?
If it's from the same period, I'm pretty sure. it is.
Yeah, this ending yesterday on the
Yeah.
2nd, so 27th through the 2nd. You referring to this area?
Yeah, so that's where that alpha boundary from the previous night's MCS focused more convective developments. I just thought you can see it in the verification number
Right.
there.
Something you probably wouldn't expect that 5-day forecast to get all those.
Oh, no,
numbers, right?
absolutely not.
But the fact that there's going to be heavy precipitation, with, convective precipitation,
That's really
I thought
impressive.
that was really a nice, impressive forecast. So when I look at 168 hours or 768 hours, there's something to it sometimes. Anyway, let's go back to current weather. And this is going to be really abbreviated. So, current weather, again, there's that, broad cyclonic circulation just over northeastern Florida, southeastern Georgia. Really not much more to say about that. As John indicated, western United States is relatively dry, and we're under this ridge that extends from Ontario back through southwestern Iowa. And it's under that ridge is going to be generally fair weather. Temperature convection is relatively weak since we're kind of right along the ridge axis. Let's jump ahead to 24 hours tomorrow morning.
Yeah, there's a decent little storm there with that up the thing.
Right. Really nice storm. Sort of cold front trailing it, getting through the North Dakota, along the North Dakota, South Dakota border. In this region of broad warm advection, south in the warm sector of the cyclone, and some showers developing tomorrow morning over the northern part of our state. But we're remaining in the weak southwest of the field, maybe just beginning. Should be a fairly nice morning tomorrow, but at least the first part of the day should be pretty nice. Let's just go ahead to BTZ tomorrow, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Those showers seem to weaken, presumably largely because it's dry, whereas it's still in the warm sector of the cyclone. Front has not yet reached us. Right through there, so it's been slowly moving southward. Moving on weak southwesterly flow, the thickness of action on it, at least as relative as weak, the gradient's also weak. Yeah, nice wound up cyclone with a little bit of snow, which I know everyone would love to see tomorrow.
There's even something to the northwest that almost tried to get organized at that prior time. In the sea level pressure, yeah, that thing right there, yeah. And then at the next time, I think it doesn't quite have its own identity like it did at that prior time.
Right, but it did produce some precipitation.
Yeah.
But that's also neat for those that have, this extended area of this trough that extends to the northeast of this nice geostrophic circulation. That's probably the light precipitation there is probably a result of some very weak Ekman pumping in there. So it must be moist enough, just enough vertical motion to produce that light precipitation. In the southeastern United States, just very rainy and a wet day there, and showers just to our northwest by tomorrow evening. Actually, just past BTV and the front approaching. So Sunday morning, if the front doesn't quite make it to us, but we stay in the warm sector, so that should be a relatively nice day. Until the evening. Let's go ahead to 84 hours. Let's see if this front, so we begin to cool off. By this time, our thicknesses have fallen a little bit. The remnants of whatever sort of surface front is now melting our south, so our weather will turn chillier early in the early part of next week by Monday. If we go to, this is just really stepping forward quickly. 108 stuff. We're going to be on the cold side of this boundary with some precipitation to our south. Looks like, and I'm going to just jump ahead so I know I've looked at this, 168 hours, so next week we're going to have a cyclone passing to our south, and we're going to have temperatures on Thursday and Friday in the 40s with a chilly rain. Go 2-meter temperatures forecast if this verifies.
Yikes.
We can go back to 12 hours. Okay, so this is in the afternoon, late afternoon, 41 on Thursday. So this is our normal, like 60, close to 60.
I got cement that's got to cure next week.
What's that?
Can you do anything about this to make it not happen?
Well, let's look at another model.
Don't like that solution.
Let's look at a different solution.
GFS FV3 is always colder.
How about Camp Randall next Friday for graduation? Next Saturday?
Oh, yeah, good point. I'm looking at you 3 a lot, so let's just get out of this world. I would prefer the universe that I've grown up in. So 180 hours. Yeah, I should probably go back. Wait, no, sorry, that's Friday evening. 192, please. Cool morning.
Cool
Saturday.
morning. Oh, that's nice. Warm
So let's actually look at the surface.
Kinda like today.
At this point, is the GFS just pulling climatology?
Also, that cyclone that went to our south is now really being rapidly intensified east of here. And hey, Nick, you're back out there.
On your way back.
Snow. Or rain. There's a little bit of blue in here, so.
It'll be perfect for a straight drive back, right? At
But, yeah, it looks like next weekend, Saturday, could be really nice. Not warm, but at least it'll be dry, if this were to verify. Just to check at least one other model other than FP3. Let's go to the GDPS, the Canadian model.
This is getting to be a prolonged, chilly first half of May if it gets this far.
And unfortunately, if you look, right, so again, this weekend, pretty nice, warm, mild, maybe through Sunday, and then we cool off beyond that. And then a cold rain by midweek. If we go back to the home here and then just look at the outlook for CPC, this is the 6 to 10 day outlook, below normal, and I guess greater chance of well below normal, or below normal, I should say, greater chance of below normal. This doesn't mean it's colder, this means greater likelihood, greater probability of below normal to our southwest. As we go ahead to the 8 to 14 days, this cool spring continues into mid-May, if this were to vary.
Yeah.
In terms of precipitation, there's a chance of being
Somewhat consistent. Yeah.
Great. And if we were to go back to the AOS webpage and go to our Weather Watch links, if you really want to see a forecast, let's go to, where's the expert page? I think there, we see expert assessments and seasonal outlook. Forget a month, let's just look at the season coming up, June, July, August, so this is the 1.5 outlook. And that really helps, equal chances.
Looks like what it is right now, except
So,
that
below normal.
we're uncommitted for the cold, but still committed for the warm.
Right, and slightly, also somewhat uncommitted, I guess, in terms of precip.
Yeah.
Maybe below normal. But an average summer or a normal summer would not be too bad.
No, I wouldn't mind that.
But John, I know you're looking forward to this, even though you give great faith in these forecasts. Next winter,
Next winter is what I'm really interested in.
Which is like an increase in outlook.
Way above average and no snow.
there's the
Perfect.
There you go. Well, I think we're gonna cut this short. Thanks, John, for beginning your discussion and taking us against some of the current conditions and also for just the whole last two semesters. It's great work.
Oh, yeah, same for you. Yeah, thank you. Pete, thanks for
And
driving.
Greg also for his engaged participation in this, and everyone that's come on a regular
Yeah.
basis. It's fun to do this. We'll pick it up in the fall. Maybe if there's something really exciting over the summer break, we'll break our habit of not having them.
Yeah.
And have a discussion. And certainly SSC does that if there are tropical cyclones of landfall, which John just loves to go.
It doesn't fit the bills. Nothing baroclinic about them. I'm not coming.
They're warm core, which means they have to be cooler on the outside. So.
No, I like that for sure. And I made the announcement about majors today, so we might have a bigger crowd in subsequent semesters. I hope that's one of the things.
Watch over you.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Okay.
See how
Thank
that
you all.
goes.
Have a wonderful exam week, and also, welcome Nick here for his visit.
Yeah. All right.
Next time you're here, Nick, you'll do the discussion.
Yes.
Please.
There is a tariff when you come to visit.
Right.